To more input from expats living abroad. Retha is a South African living in the German capital of Munich, and she'll also be casting her vote today or tomorrow, Retha, whichever day you choose. So welcome to the program. It's great to talk to you from Johannesburg. Are you missing home?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the weather alone.
Okay, so talk to us about how you've been approaching this election season. Have you been campaigned, as so to speak?
Actually, not really, which is kind of refreshing. But we do have, so I think most South Africans abroad communities have these Facebook groups. And on these groups, people have been sharing information from the IEC. And there is a rule that you can't post political party things, which I find quite constructive. But the information on how to register to be able to vote and all of that was placed on these groups. And that's basically how we got in the know-how of how the logistics of voting will work. But about the political parties, I've been doing my own research and speaking to friends that are still in the country.
Yeah, so you haven't been canvassed, so to speak. And I suppose if you're living in Munich, that would go for all of the expats living there.
Yeah, so I actually don't live in Munich. I live in Baden-Württemberg, which is close to Stuttgart, which is about 2.5 hours away.
Oh, I see.
But I have to vote in Munich. So yeah, that's one of the issues for people voting abroad is there's only 2 consulates in Germany, one in Berlin and one in Munich. So most of us are traveling quite far to be able to vote.
Well, good on you for taking the trip and taking the time and making the effort to make sure that you do have your say in this vote. I understand you've voted in 2 elections previously here at home, once in the Western Cape, once in Gauteng. What's different for you? You know, it's been described as a watershed election, as important as 1994, if not possibly more so in some ways. But what's different for you about these elections compared to the previous 2 you took part in?
Well, I mean, I think having some distance from South Africa has been both eye-opening and actually both positively and negatively. So I've been made aware of the things that I've really been taking for granted and as a South African. And then as the things as well that I think could be improved, that could improve the future of my children, and that I really hope my children would want to visit South Africa or live in South Africa if we don't move back, or if we do, we don't know.
And has it been a particularly difficult time for you in terms of just indecision, in terms of where you will put your ex or exes?
Yes, I am honestly still not completely sure. I'm still doing some research because we can only vote tomorrow from 7 to 7. And I'm still trying to decide. I think I've decided who I won't be voting for. But actually deciding on who you want to vote for has been quite challenging, whereas I feel in the previous elections I was a bit less involved in making that choice. It was more, I don't want to vote for them, so I'm voting for them, instead of what do I actually want from the person that I'm voting for or the party I'm voting for.
Yeah. And you're reading manifestos? Is that sort of the kind of research that you're doing? Reading manifestos, going online, taking a look at the news, social media? Yeah,
so we don't have that much access to the news from a South African viewpoint, and I feel like the European viewpoint on South Africa is, like, their coverage of our elections isn't very in-depth, if at all. I don't think I've actually found any. But even on social media, people have been sharing when there are debates at the universities and so forth, and that has been quite enlightening, just to see how in real time things are going, what the vibe is, sort of.
Yeah. The issue around Israel and Palestine and South Africa approaching the ICJ, we were at the ICJ again yesterday and today. How much is that feeding into, your thought process, shall we say?
I mean, for me, it's quite substantial. I feel like how you're responding to this human crisis is quite, it says a lot about the party and about the person, and how you choose to respond or not to respond says a lot about how you would respond if this were to happen in South Africa in the future. I mean, there's apartheid happened for a reason. We let it happen.
Well, all the best to you, Retha. It's great to talk to you, and I'm sure you're going to get into that booth and you're going to make the right decision for you. Certainly, that's what all of us are hoping as we go to the polls. Retha is a South African expat living in Germany.